In the United States, we have done a lot of things really, really well. Behavioral health was one of the biggest screw-ups that we've had in our history. If you think about what treatment was about, it had a 3% success rate of even finishing a 90-day program. We had the licensed people primarily were made up of licensed social workers, which many of them had not experienced the recovery, the addiction. So there was somewhat of a disconnect when that became the model. There was a disconnect between those providing treatment. You had to go years and years and years to be able to get licensed enough to help somebody. And there was something wrong with that. The housing partner that we interviewed, because we wanted somebody to do the housing for us, because we knew that was a big piece of what we do. And so I said, I can't do it perfectly. I'm no genius. I'm no expert in this field whatsoever, but I can improve on 3%. We can do better than this mess in the housing. And so we started, as you know, back in 2018, starting that process of getting houses. We had no money. We had no guarantee of success. In 2019, I was denied a mortgage to buy the house that I wanted because of this full circle thing that I had attached to me. We were losing money, and the bankers didn't believe it was going to work. They said, nope. I want to honor a group of people that I have never honored before, but they're the ones that really took the brunt of that risk. And it's certainly a risk when you come on to a company, when you come on as an employee. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, you can always go work somewhere else, even though you may see the same vision. But the people that took the risk were my family. And I've never I've not shared that before because I don't like to talk about that piece. But I had given my wife security, had a police pension, I had a side business that I had made a good paycheck with. We made good profit on that company. We had a lot of equity in the house, vehicles paid for, and we had security. But I believed in that vision. I believed that it was going to work despite of the bankers, despite of the fact that nobody would loan us money for housing. Banks said, no, we're not going to give you the money. And so my parents took of their retirement, as little as it was, on a mission budget, missionary budget and pastor budget. There wasn't a lot of money there, but they took of that money and loaned it to me. My sister Hope took a good chunk of her retirement. Could have meant she had to work longer. She didn't have a deed to go against that housing. She didn't have any promissory note other than my word that I'm going to try to pay it back to you. And her response was, when we were down at I believe it was Panera Bread down on Brown Street. And I said, I don't want you to do this if you're not sure. And she goes, why wouldn't I do it? If you're going to help people, of course I'm going to take the risk, and why wouldn't I do it? My son, Chris, he worked for Chief Beal. Chris was 2 years away from being vested, which means that he could stay as little or go on to another job after that, and he would always have a retirement with the city of Dayton. And I asked him to come work for Full Circle 2 years before that. I asked him to throw everything away, guarantees, security, throw it all away, and come take a chance with me at Full Circle. And he did. I had to tell my wife that the bank wasn't going to give us the money. Because I had this dream, I had this vision, and I wanted to see it carried out. And not once did my wife say, stop, you need to give it up. She asked me a couple times, I hope you know what you're doing. My response was, I sure hope I do too. Because we took everything in the company. The Moonlight Security was very successful, 60 or so guards. We had worked hard for years and years and years to build our reputation, and we were doing very well. I maxed out our loans with them, I maxed out our credit with them. I put our payroll account as low as it could possibly go because I wanted to put it all into the housing piece to be able to grow so that we could always honestly say we have one bed left for you. And we continued to do that. Now you see this 7 years later, you see these stats, and it's hard to believe that we're ever there. And I tell you, the family believed in us, in me, when we weren't cool yet. And I know we weren't cool because we didn't know Pastor Gray yet at that point. But there was no guarantees. They all did it with just my word, my vision of wanting to see this and helping people that we didn't even know yet. And they did that. So if I could have all of my family come up here on stage with me just for a second, I just want to tell you, thank you for being there with me from the beginning.